So we're in a series right now called A Rich Life. The idea being we all want to live better. We all want to live, and I'm using rich not in terms of finances, but in terms of the things that I think we all know that really matter in life. And then I think I'm going to have a new series. I sent to Lydia to start working on it. Beginning of the new year, we're going to call the series simply Start. I don't know what it's going to be about yet, but I think it's going to be good. So I encourage you to come and be part of that. So this idea of a rich life, we've been talking about this study that was done. It all kind of came together in my mind, this study that was done about people that are truly happy are people who are generous. That's kind of the underlying idea behind this. And so I began thinking about generosity. And when we think of that term, right, mostly we think of as money. It's interesting though, it's because of our culture. When we were missionaries to Africa, one of the things we learned was this, is that Americans are more generous than hospitable, which is interesting to me because today we're going to be talking about hospitality. Americans are more generous than hospitable. Africans are more hospitable than generous. Would you agree with that? About Americans at least, right? Because you don't know Africans, but the idea is this. The idea is when we see a need, what's the first thing we want to do? We want to throw money at it, right? Which I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I'm not saying you're wrong for doing that. That's just our tendency. Our tendency is to, if we see that need or whatever, is to write a check, right? Africa's on the other hand, it's just our go-to. It's not that we're not hospitable. It's not that we can't do other things or don't do other things. That's just kind of the first thought. Would you agree with that? It's the first thought that comes to your mind is, well, they need assistance. They need money. They need help that way. And Africans, on the other hand, maybe there's different reasons too, maybe because they don't have money, but the first thing they think of comes to their mind is they'd be more hospitable. And I'll talk more about that in a minute. And so this is a type of generosity I think personally is really fun. Don't you think? Yeah. Being hospitable? Some of you are doubting. Okay, hopefully by the end, you might agree with me. But I think it's perfect for this time of year, right? We're in the holiday season, you know what I mean? And it's kind of festive and so forth. And so I'm going to challenge you in this during this year, but not just during this year, just kind of in your life as we go through what it means to be hospitable. I think it's an important part of generosity. Now, here's the thing. The Bible talks a lot about it. Now, I'm going to use a word, and you may have an idea about this word, or you may feel a certain way about this word. That's okay. I'm going to use it anyways. The Bible actually commands generosity. Commands generosity. Not commands in the sense like you better, but saying like this is really, really important. You know the difference, right? It's not this, you have to or else or a quid pro quo kind of thing or whatever. A command is just this urging of us to behave in a certain way. Again, now I'm going to pull in studies like I did a couple weeks ago from the outside of kind of Christianity to lend support to this. Not that the Bible needs support, but we have a tendency to kind of gloss over things, right? But if science, if modern culture is telling us something that coincides with or agrees with or supports things we learn in the Bible, kind of our ears perk up and go, wow, the Bible said that all along, and now we're just now, right, science and psychology and sociology are now starting to catch up and realize, hey, wow, this is something that Jesus kind of promoted. The Bible commands us to live a certain way, to live a rich life, and now we're discovering, hey, it was right. Isn't that good? And I think it's good. When I find things like that, extra biblical things, I think that hospitality is something that is underrated and underappreciated. I really do. Sherry served in hospitality for like 9 years, and she didn't do it for any sort of acclaim or anything like that. But it's kind of this thing where, well, that's just what I do. I think it's a big thing. Now, have you ever heard the term cocooning? Anybody ever heard that term? Okay, so it's there's a lady, a futurist, an author, studies business and so forth. Her name now. She changed her last name. It's Faith Popcorn. Anybody hear that name, Faith Popcorn? You never heard of her? Really? Okay, Faith Popcorn. What a name, right? I love these names that we come up with, right? It's Faith Popcorn. She came up with this term, cocooning, and it's used when a person isolates or hides himself or herself from social environment, and instead opts to stay home and socialize less and less. Okay, we get that, right? That's we understand that. But she goes on, and now she's a futurist, talking about what's to come, right? And how fast our world is changing, isn't it? Right? They say right now we know 10% of what we're going to know in 10 years. And that's mind-blowing. Only 10%. I mean, everything we know right now, just think of your cell phone right now, right? 10% of what we're going to know in 10 years. So she not coined, but just kind of took a little bit further, something she calls super cocooning is taking place right now. And if you thought about it for a while, you can understand why it's taking place right now. Super cocooning, right? If super cocooning is isolation, right, staying home, things are happening with internet technology that's creating super cocooning. What's that? Social media. Isn't that true? Right? How many have over 500 friends on social media? Anybody? Only a couple of us. I got over 500. I got more friends than you. What a joke, right? Friends, right? But that's kind of the way we live, and people studies have been shown that when people post something and they look for how many people are liking it, they get a dopamine hit in their brain, right? Man, looking for those likes. How many likes? And then God forbid if someone would defriend you, right? Oh my gosh, and you obsess about it for weeks, why they unfriended you. And so she coined this term, super cocooning. Listen to this. Research shows, okay, let's talk about this for a minute. Research shows that only 1 in 4 Americans knows the majority of their neighbors. Only 1 in 4 Americans knows the majority of their neighbors. And only 1 in 5 say they trust their neighbor. I want you to think about that for a minute. Here's what I want you to do. Do you have notes? Okay, get your notes. Turn over on the back where there's a blank piece. Now, I don't know where you live. I was going to put it on there, but we all live in different kind of areas, different kind of places. If you have a pen, what I want you to do is I want you to draw on the back. I want you to draw 2 lines like this, just 2 lines, parallel lines, represents your street, where you live. Then I want you to draw a box where your house is. And then in relationship to your house, I want you to draw other boxes that, go down, 4 or 5 this way, 4 or 5 that way, across the street, down that way. And through this message, what I want you to do is I want you to be thinking about your neighbors. I want you to write down the name, at least the last name, of the neighbors that you know. Now, you may not be the same as the statistics, right? 1 in 4 knows their neighbors. So what I want you to do is I want you to write their name. Now, just in your own mind, I want you to do something just a note to yourself or whatever, just so you can put it down there. Do I just know their name? You follow me? I know their name, or do I know them? Okay? So if you don't know them, just write their name down, but you know their name. Oh yeah, the Joneses live down there, Joneses. I'd recognize them if I saw them, I guess, right? If you know them, circle them or something, okay? Just kind of a little note to yourself. And then I want you to be thinking about this. I want you to be thinking about this message in relationship to those people that live around you, okay? And I want you to be, kind of pay attention to that. Here's the thing. If you can't trust your neighbors, right? If you can't trust them, Darryl and I used to talk. He grew up in the projects. He's talking about the projects. The projects, and I'm not trying to make any judgments or anything, but it sounds a lot like Africa, the way Africa was, right? In the projects, he said, if you needed sugar, you just walked into your neighbor's house and you went and got sugar. You might not, you kind of walk in. Africa is kind of like that, you know what I mean? So we lived in Cameroon for a while, and we lived in a hut, and there's no door on the hut, but there'd be a curtain there. If the curtain was down, people would come and they would, Hody, say something. If the curtain was open, they would just walk in, right? If the curtain's open. And so there's a different kind of way, and that's this idea that Africans are more hospitable than they are generous. So I want you to be thinking about your neighbors. If only 1 in 5 people trust their neighbors, if we don't even trust our neighbors, how are we to trust people in D.C.? Like how are we supposed to do that? Do you follow me? Like, how many of you hear something? I don't care who it is. It doesn't matter who it is. I'm not taking sides here politically. How many hear a politician speak and go, like, what does that mean? You know, I mean, I really don't believe them. They're just saying whatever. How many of you feel, with a show of hands, how many of you feel they're only saying things to get elected? I'm not saying we're right. I'm saying, is that how you feel? That's how I feel. I feel like they're just saying that because they want me to vote for them. Do they mean it? I have no idea. Because basically I don't trust them. How are we to trust others? We can't even trust those around us. Sometimes we can't even trust people that go to church with us, right? Listen to this. So, you know who Malcolm Gladwell is? Malcolm Gladwell's a writer. Anyways, so I was reading some stuff that he wrote. You may hear of Roseto, R-E-S-E-T-O, Roseto, Pennsylvania, and the study that was done in Roseto, Pennsylvania. Really fascinating. It's over by Philadelphia, right? It's actually called, sorry, my glasses, I need them to read, but I can't stand them all when I'm looking at you, right? It's called the Roseto effect. The Roseto effect. Because of this town in Pennsylvania that they studied. They found this. They found that this phenomenon in this close-knit community experienced a reduction in heart disease more than any other place in the entire country. I want to move there. Right? Okay, so this is a study. You can go read it. I have so much I want to talk to you about today, but let me just pull some things out of here. It was a century-long study. A century-long study. There are these Italian Americans, this Italian-American community, right? And what they found is they found that they have, well, let me just read it to you. The statistics were at odds with a number of factors that they observed in the community. They smoked unfiltered stogies, cigars, right? They drank wine with seeming abandon. I know a lot of friends like that. In lieu of milk and soft drinks. They skipped the Mediterranean diet in favor of meatballs and sausage fried in lard and hard and soft cheeses. The men worked in slate quarries where they contracted illness from gases and dust. Roseto, now here's the thing. They did things they didn't try to do, this community, right? It says they were very cohesive. Houses were close together, right? So just think about us, you know. We like more space, right? We're all looking for more, you know, not so. How many drive past the place where you grew up and go, God, I can't believe it. You could almost reach out your window and touch the other house, right? We've moved from that sort of living, haven't we? Listen, think about it for a minute. In search of a better life, haven't we? Yeah? Yeah? In search of a rich life. You know, move away from people, have more space, not so close together, okay? So they live in, and they still live this way. Everybody lived pretty much kind of the same. Elders were revered, older people, right, were revered. They were a part of the community, a big part of the community. Housewives were respected. Fathers still kind of had a strong role in the family. Virtually there was no suicide. There was no alcoholism. There was no drug addiction. And there was no crime. Like I said, this isn't just a one-time study. This is done over a century. People lived healthier, happier, longer lives. And experts wanted to know why, right? Wouldn't you want to know why? And so they decided they're going to study it. So they checked into their diets, right? And they looked at their diets, and I already told you that. It was kind of like, well, it's not like, you thought they're Italians. Yeah, the Mediterranean diet. How many of you have ever tried the Mediterranean diet? Yeah, okay. It seemed like back there, Connie, it's just me and you. No one else. I think everybody else they're tuned out already. I don't know, I'm not sure. And so their diets, it wasn't their diets. Maybe it was just the environment. They looked into the environment. No, actually, like pollution and stuff like that. It wasn't like the Blue Zone Project. This was a little bit different, right? And so they thought, okay, it must just be in their DNA, right? So they did all this DNA testing. No, it wasn't that. It wasn't their DNA. A lot of their family members had died young and so forth. And so finally they came to a conclusion. The reason they live longer and happier lives has nothing to do with genetics or nothing to do with the environment or everything. Gladwell writes this. He said, they visited each other. They stopped to chat on the street, in Italian no less. They cooked for each other. Extended families were the town's social structure. Many homes had 3 generations living under one roof. Also, the researchers saw there was a unifying and calming effect that they had by going to church together, by worshiping together. In other words, okay, now pull out your notes. Pull out your notes. Yeah, I know you have it in your back there. I want you to pull out your notes. Look at the very first point, the importance of hospitality. In other words, this. The reason why I brought up Roseto, Pennsylvania, is they look a lot like the church looked in the first century, and the church was encouraged to be in the first century. Now remember, what's this series about? The series about a rich life. Friend, this series is about what you want. Right? What we all want. We all want to live happy, healthier, longer lives. That's what we all want. Right? And so here's a community that's living that way that resembles a lot like the first century church. So let's look at that. Let's look at some of the things the Scripture says. Acts 2:46. They worship together. What's this town, right? They went to church together. Listen, there's something important about this, right? I don't have to go to church. You're right, you don't have to go to church. You don't have to. Why would you not want to? That's my question. Like, why would you not want to? Why would you not want to come to a place where there's people who are kind of on the same journey as you, right? That are encouraging to, if it is that place, I hope it's that kind of place. If you go to a church where it's all bickering and backbiting and people talking about one another and you go, yeah, I'd get out of there too. I'd leave as fast as I could. But if you go to a church that's a loving place, a community where you feel welcomed, right? Where you come in and there's a special donut for you with your name on it. Isn't that right, Tony? I mean, you're just loved that way, right? And so it says this, they worshiped together at the temple each day. They got together often. And they had a likeness. Do you think they all agreed with one another on Jesus and on what it meant and on future? No, they didn't agree with it. It doesn't matter. That doesn't matter. It's not about the doctrine that you agree on. It's about the lives that we're living together in community, and we're being together and we're supporting one another. And we're all on the same track, the same idea. Yeah, I don't know who God is, but I want to know Him better, if that's possible. And I'm on this journey, and I want to live like Him, and I want to, right? That's the way I want to be. And it says in homes, and they got together in homes for the Lord's Supper. They shared meals together. People wonder, why do we do meal groups? Well, you're not doing it on your own. You know what I mean? So I'm trying to, do whatever I can to get you guys to be together, right? How many have enjoyed meal groups? You enjoyed meal groups? I've had people do meal groups and go, that's unbelievable. I go, what's unbelievable? Well, the people you picked out, they were perfect. I got along with them so well. As a matter of fact, we want to meet as a group again. I go, you don't get it. It didn't matter who those people were. It didn't matter. They could be a different 6 people, different 8 people. That didn't matter. The fact is you opened up your home. You allowed them in. You learned about them. You didn't know anything about them before, and now you learned something about them. It could be a different 6. Matter of fact, make it a different 6. Get to know more people. And so eating together, this is an important thing. And here's the funny thing. I say funny, not ha-ha funny, but interesting funny, right? Is that the first century church, when they behaved this way, people were drawn to them. They were drawn to them. They were like, wow. They saw this community living like that and going, wow. We don't have that. I want that. That's what I want. Like I want to be like that. I want to be around people like that. And so the church grew like crazy. And we think in terms of, the church grew. Because they were out there, they were on the street corner on a soapbox, and they were preaching, telling about Jesus, telling them, if you don't, you're going to go to hell, and come here. And the church grew because evangelists. No, they grew because the church was living like this, like a community, like a loving, thriving community where people were there with one another, helping one another, supporting one another. And the church grew. Does that surprise you? Doesn't surprise me. Doesn't surprise me at all. I see that and I go, yeah. Like that's what I want. That's what I want. Listen, how about this? How about leaders in the church? What should the leaders in the church be like? 1 Timothy 3:2, right? Now the overseers are to be above reproach, right? They want them to be, listen, live a good life, right? Faithful to their wife. Now this isn't, here's the thing. People that take the Bible, this is a side note, okay? This isn't my notes or anything. People try to take the Bible literally, right? Here's the problem. The problem is this: is you'll create things that aren't there, that aren't in there, right? So a church leader, right? A church leader should be faithful to his wife. What kind of place were we talking about then? We're talking about a very male-dominated society. Right? That's how they saw things. Women were basically chattel. They wouldn't write it any other way, friends. They just wouldn't write it any other way. They lived and understood and worked within the culture and society in which they lived. And so you have to understand that. You can't just say, well, because this wasn't written to us, in 2019. It wasn't written to us. It's for us. It's not written to us. It's not written to us where we could take that and go, see, a church leader is supposed to be a male, right? No, that's not what this is saying, right? So that was just extra. You can write that down. Temperate, self-controlled, respectable, right? These are all qualifications for a church leader. What's the last one I have there? Hospitable. See, this is no like tertiary kind of thing. This is no kind of, we invite people. No, this is the way you're supposed to be. This is the way you're supposed to live. Matter of fact, hospitality is a necessary qualification for a church leader. Matter of fact, it should be when you have an interview. Are you hospitable? Do you have people over your house? Michelle and I, we do it not because it's written here. We just love to do it, right? We thought, wow, Mom, when we moved from the big farmhouse in a little house, that's going to be hard. You know what? Hard, smart, I don't care. We still do it. I don't care how small it is. It's what we love to do. We love to have people over, right? Okay, let's move on. I'm running out of time. Where was I? Yeah, hospitality. So how about this one? Matthew 25:35. For I was hungry, and you fed me. I was thirsty, and you gave me drink. I was a stranger, and you invited me into your home. Man, there's so much here. There's so much in these scriptures. This idea. This is actually given reference to back in Abraham and Sarah when they had 3 strangers in their house. Remember that story? And they were angels, right? And here's the thing about this. Again, we get in this habit of this is literal. Everything's literal. You believe literal. An angel. What's an angel? Anyone know what an angel is? Please say no. Okay. Well, I don't know what an angel is, but you know what an angel means in the Bible? Angel means a messenger. That's all it means. I'm telling you, that's all it means. It means a messenger of good news. Messenger of good news. Abraham and Sarah had a messenger of good news, an angel in their house, 3 angels in their house. I think you've had angels in your house. I think you should have more angels in your house. I think you invite more people in your house so that you can have angels in your house, messengers of good news. Jesus said, listen, when you've done it to the least of these, you've done it to me. Revelation 3:20 says this, look, I stand at the door and knock. If you hear my voice, open the door, I'll come in and I'll share a meal with you. Again, it's this idea, this connotation of hospitality. You might not think of this as being hospitality, but I think it's hospitality it's just bathed in hospitality of the scripture that you know. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind, with all your strength. The second is this: love your neighbor as yourself. Look at your thing on the back, your street, your names. That's it. Love your neighbor as yourself. Who are these people? Hospitality is important. Hospitality is a qualification for a leader. Hospitality is something that even society today understands, that if there's something about it, something about reaching out, something about being generous towards other people, that as a benefit in your life, a benefit for your health, a benefit for living longer, a benefit for being more joyful, more happy in your life. So, write this in your notes, fill in the blank. Learn to do best what Jesus said matters most. Learn to do best, right? Love your neighbor as yourself. Be hospitable to your neighbor. Learn to do best what Jesus says matters most. It's a big deal in the Bible. Well, see, here's the problem is this. When we think of hospitality, what do we think of? Well, if I were to ask you, maybe the name Martha Stewart would come out. Hospitality, right? The queen of hospitality. And maybe you think hospitality is something like, well, if I had, right? If I had a more proper house, or my dining room's up here, my kitchen's too small. It's just, our house isn't really. When we get our house together, that's when we'll do it. Or maybe you think of hospitality as the hospitality industry, right? You think of restaurants or party, things like that, right? Or hotels. You think of the hospitality industry, and you go, well, and somehow hospitality is outside of your thought processes, because you think it's something more grand than probably what you should be thinking, right? And so it's oftentimes our perception. It's this high level thing. And when it is that, or maybe you're a perfectionist, when it's that, then we shy away from doing it. We refrain from even trying it. Well, there's a term. I'm talking real fast now because this is good stuff. Hope you're writing down fast. There's a term that a guy by the name of Jack King coined. It's called scruffy hospitality. Scruffy hospitality, not waiting for perfection before you do it, right? It's like this. He said, we tell our guests, come as you are. Maybe we should tell our hosts, right? We're going to host as we are. Just as we are. I love it, in Africa. Michelle, here's the thing. Knowing something is, man, it's such a small part of everything. Knowing it. Information. How many times have I told you, this is not for your information? This is the Bible, by the way. This is not for your information. This is not to gather more information, not to impress people with what you know, right? It's not that. This is for transformation. This is to help you be different. And not transforming you by giving you all kind of rules from the outside. It's to transform you in here that changes out, inside out. That's what this is for. An inside out transformation. And so in Africa, we learn, Michelle, that Africans are hospitable, right? And you should always be welcoming people in your home. And when you have dinner, if somebody comes, you invite them in. Oh, that's cool. We'd love to do that. We're taking notes. We're going to do that, right? Good. We live in Africa, and I'm at the office, whatever. I come home, and Natalie worked for us in our house, right? We had just Natalie, but other people had different people doing different things, and it's participating in the economy of the society, right? Everybody had somebody working for them. Even Africans did. Africans would have somebody working for them, and those people who were working for someone else had somebody working for them as a way to kind of contribute, to give back to society. So Natalie worked for us, and one time we were sitting there eating, and Pastor Raul, pastor of a church we went to, came, knocked on our door. Natalie said, Pastor Raul's here. I said, between our buildings, there was like we call it a peyote. What do you call that? What do you call that thing? You know what I mean? You sit under. Anyways, what do we call it here? Huh? One person. What? A pagoda. Yeah, pagoda. Okay. Yeah. So we had a pagoda out there, right? I said, tell them to wait in the pagoda. When I'm done eating, I'll come out. Got done eating, I went out there and I talked to him. This happened a couple different times and everything. One time, my friend Rock Bankusu, who was kind of my right-hand man, but he was my insider. He was wanting to help me, to teach me about the culture so I'm not making blunders, which I did all the time, unbeknownst to me. And he said, Jeff, I noticed that Pastor Raul was waiting for you out in the Pyote. I said, yeah, he's waiting for me. He said, oh, okay. He said, he never would come directly right out because it wasn't his place. He felt it wasn't his place. But what he was getting at is this. Jeff, why didn't you invite him in? Weren't you eating dinner? Yeah. You should invite him in. Oh, yeah, I learned that. Right? I had it up here, I knew that. But then I didn't do that. And then we started to do that, right? A guy that taught us Lingala come over, and I said, hey, well, Jean-Pierre, come on in and eat. Right? We even asked Natalie to sit down a couple times. Well, Natalie would never do that because she's working there, right? Working for us. But this Jean-Pierre would come in and have dinner with us. And we started to kind of get, get in that swing of things. That's what we need to do, invite people in. Here's the thing. It's not just people that necessarily you love or whatever, right? Now, Rock I loved. Jean-Pierre was a nice guy, but he was teaching us Lingala. That's all he was doing. But he came, no, come on in and eat with us. Right? This idea of being hospitable, this scruffy hospitality. You're inviting people in. They're not perfect people, and you're not a perfect host. And your house isn't perfect. And that's okay. Imperfect people into an imperfect home. So Jesus actually talks about this, the nature of hospitality. Right? This is number two. Number two. This is in Luke 14:12. I think I have a reference there for you. You can go read it for yourself, but I'll read it. When you put on a luncheon or a banquet, he said, don't invite your friends, brothers, relatives. Here's the thing, if you're the guy who's saying, I take the Bible literally, you're going to get in a world of trouble here, right? You're in a world of trouble here. Okay, don't invite my friends. Sorry, you can't come over. That's not what this is saying. Let's just, anyways. Because here's the thing, he says this, for they will invite you back, and that'll be your only reward. Instead, invite the poor, the crippled, the lame, the blind. He's telling the story, right? And maybe your only way to understand this is go, well, if that's what it says, that's what it means, right? How many think that way sometimes? That's what it says. Okay, don't invite them. I'll never forget someone here said one time, the Bible says hate your parents and hate, if you don't hate them more, I'm supposed to hate my dad. Really? Really? That's really what you think, right? So is that what this is? So I'm not supposed to invite my friends and my family over, right? Instead invite the poor, the crippled, the lame, and the blind. What's the point of this? The point is this. The point is, write in your notes, write this down. This is good, right? Practice grace-based hospitality, not reward-based hospitality. That's all this is getting at, right? Because when you invite the idea is this: when you invite these people, they're not repaying you. And so the idea here is, what's your motivation? Why are you even doing this? Oh, you like these people? These people are tough. No, it's grace-based. Your hospitality should be grace-based, not any other motivation, not reward, not for. I was watching The Office yesterday, and how many watch The Office? It's so funny. I just love that show. And so Dwight comes in. He brings bagels in, and what he's trying to do, he's trying to get one up on everybody. Right? One up on everybody. So he gives them bagels and everything, and don't worry about it. You owe me. He's kind of lightly saying that, knowing that he's gonna call in his favor at some point, right? You remember that? And Andy said, listen, no one's gonna get one up on me. You do something nice, bam, I do something nice for you. You open the door for me, pow, I wash your car. He's like saying, you just right back, quid pro quo, right? That sort of thing. Saying, listen, no, that's not it. That's not it. Do it it's all about your heart. Right? It's all about your heart. It's about loving your neighbor. Steve's not here. Steve was telling me about this thing that he's involved with. He was saying this. He said this. I love it when people tell me a definitive. I love that. But he said this. I hope you're watching, Steve. Steve said, this guy says that we as human beings, we do everything out of pain avoidance. Everything that we do is out of pain avoidance. No matter what it is, you could trace it back to avoiding some sort of pain. And I go, I don't disagree with you that we do that, but I don't think Jesus promoted that. I think Jesus would say, that's in your kingdom, but in my kingdom, it's not that. I say in my kingdom, it's self-sacrifice. It's putting others first, right? Not out of pain avoidance. Loving your neighbor, right? This idea that I'm not first. And that's this community in Pennsylvania of reaching out and loving the other. Okay, grace-based hospitality. I was looking at what something Tim Keller wrote. I don't know if you guys know Tim Keller's retired Presbyterian minister up in New York, big mega church up there and everything. He said 3 things. He said this, hospitality is this, welcoming people into your living space, And he says it that way because some people, your living space is a one room you rent somewhere for some people. Some it's a couch, I don't know. I mean, your living space. Part of, you get the idea, right? This is me. When you come into this space, it's where I live, you're going to learn about me. Second thing is this, treating strangers as family. Watch this, hospitality, 2 Greek words. Philios, right? Philios. We have a city in Pennsylvania named after this, right? Philadelphia, brotherly love. And xenos. Anybody know what xenos is? Ever hear of xenophobia? Xenos is stranger. Hospitality is made up of 2 words, brotherly love and stranger. Xenos, we get our word xenophobia from that, fear of the stranger, right? You're a xenophobe. It's the other. Stranger means this. Stranger is, they're different than me. They're a different socioeconomic status than I am. They're a different color than I am. They come with a completely different background than I am, right? Stranger, xenophobe, the fear of stranger. Hospitality is this idea of loving like a brother, a stranger. Biblical hospitality is treating a stranger, a foreigner, and an enemy as family. That's what biblical hospitality is. According to the word, the compound word. Let's talk about this for a minute, okay? Who is a stranger biblically? Well, biblically, a stranger was, you're not going to like this, and that's okay, but this is what it is a refugee. Stranger was a refugee, a displaced person. Read Leviticus 19:33. When the alien resides with you in your land, you shall not oppress the alien. The alien who resides with you shall be to you as a citizen among you. Now listen to me. Everybody pay attention real quick here. This is really important. I'm not making a statement about how government should behave. Okay? We agreed? That's all I'm saying. I'm not making a statement how governments around the world should behave. I'm talking about how we should behave. Got me? I'm not making a political statement here. I'm telling us how we should behave, not how governments behave. That's above my pay grade, right? That's what I'm talking about here. Don't leave here. Don't tweet something or whatever. I'm not saying that. Okay, I'm talking about how we should behave. Also, biblically, a stranger is a refugee, right? Somebody who's not a citizen in your land and finds himself in your land. That's who a stranger is. A stranger is also someone who, I already talked about this, someone who's different from you. Someone who looks different from you. A different political party, a different opinion on a hot topic, a different opinion in their doctrine, their doctrinal beliefs, a different skin color than you, a different cultural background than you, socioeconomic status than you. The Bible is simply saying this: treat that other as a friend. The other as a friend. There's another book. I didn't read the book. Just disclaimer here. So I'm not recommending this book. I just read I always read like a little bio of the book before I get it to see if it's going to be interesting to me. It's called RCO, Repugnant Cultural Other. And you know this in terms of like jokes. Like what nationality you are, who do you make fun of? We talked to Rosanna, she's from Argentina. And she, here in America, for some reason, you tell an ethnic joke, it's usually against who? Who? The Polacks, that's me, right? It's usually against me. Right? People tell me, I sound Polish, that's okay, I gotta take the joke, right? So each, right, the repugnant cultural other. We all have a repugnant cultural other. And I was thinking about it to myself, I'm going, I read that. I mean, it said everybody has a repugnant cultural other. I thought, I don't. I really don't. I don't. And then I realized, then I thought about it. I go, no, I do. I do. And if I'm just being honest, it's not, like for me, it's not, Democrats or Republicans, and maybe that is for you. Maybe the repugnant cultural other is something like that. It's a Democrat, it's a Republican, or it's the NRA. The NRA is or it's the gun control people, right? So we all have something. I was thinking, like, I really know, is it PETA? No, not PETA. And maybe it's skin orientation for some. Maybe it's some. Maybe I don't know if I hit your hot button. Maybe it's sexual orientation for you. I don't know. But I was thinking about all these things. I think I really don't. I realized that I do. You know what it is for me? It's the Christian fundamentalist. It's the legalist. It's those who say, I read the Bible literally. I don't have time for those people. I have a repugnant cultural other. I do. Oh, wow. Hey, good for me. I got one. I got one too. Right? But we all have that repugnant cultural other. I know I'm late. I know. You guys are back there pointing to me and stuff. I don't know. Okay. So God says this. The reason why we do that stuff is for this reason. See you guys. Sorry you have to go. That's cool. That's all good. Watch it online. You don't want to miss this. So that God can turn some into friends. Put that in. He'll turn some into friends. It's like the meal groups. Wow, I never knew that. I really like them. They're my friend. Yeah, exactly right. Exactly right. We practice hospitality so that God could turn some into friends. I'm going to let you look at that practice hospitality. I'm going to show a video, okay? I come across this video. It's really, really interesting. So this lady did this. She's from Austin, Texas, and she thought she was going to be a missionary and go somewhere or whatever. And she didn't. She wasn't a missionary. So she did this, and it's a nationwide movement. How many ever heard of the Turquoise Table? There's a book, Turquoise Table, nationwide movement, wrote a book. Let's show the video.
I always thought I'd go for a on mission. I really did. I really thought my calling would be international. And I never in a million years thought that the Lord would ask me to walk outside of my door and get to know my neighbors. I'm Kristen Bell, and I live in Austin, Texas. I am a wife and a mother of 4 children. Any given day, I am in the kitchen or in the minivan. I'm active in the kids' school. I'm a waiter, and I volunteer at church. We've been in this neighborhood almost 10 years. I always knew we were supposed to love our neighbors because that's the great commandment. How you live that out day to day is hard, especially when you don't know your neighbors, which is the situation I was in. I did not know my neighbors. Sure, I knew a handful of them. And so there was this huge question, what do you want me to do, Lord? Here I am, Lord. What do you want me to do? Do you want me to walk across the street and bang on doors? Do you want me to take cookies? What do you want me to do, Lord? God answers prayers in really winsome ways. I was hosting a party with a friend in our backyard, and I didn't have any tables. And so I ordered a picnic table from Lowe's. And when it arrived 2 days later, I knew that for the purposes of the party, I was going to have it in my backyard. But as soon as that party was over, I was in the front yard, and it was going to be a gathering. And so I painted it turquoise, which is color, and I did. I outside underneath the tree in the front yard. It was awkward. At first, I have this table. It's bright turquoise. It's sitting in the front yard. And now I'm like, well, now what do I do? So I took a whole bunch of stuff out with me. I took my phone and my journal and my computer. And I had some art stuff that I was working on because now I need to look like I was just doing something. By going out front, I was saying, God, here I am. Your will be done. Before, behind, and beside me. Into the neighborhood. And that very day, life changed, and I met a neighbor within 3 hours of putting a table out in the front yard. A lot has happened since putting the table out there. There are a handful of women who are now very close friends who I didn't know. It has become kind of a gathering place.
I'm Bob. This is my daughter Peggy.
So one of the things is just the sense of normal community, everyday life. The neighborhood kids come over. They'll do homework when the weather's pretty. We've had lemonade stands, hot cocoa stands. More intimately, it's a place where we can meet and have met neighbors who now pop by with coffee just for a 15-minute conversation over coffee that wouldn't have happened. The Lord has taught me, and I am learning to be present. That it sounds like it should be a no-brainer. Listening is not a skill that came naturally at first to me, nor was being present.
This was really cool. It's great to see you here.
Loving my neighbor has taught me how to love God better. It's drawn me into deeper in Him. You don't need permission or a program to decide and be who Christ is called to be. When we open up our door and we take 3 steps right out our front yard, good things happen. Open up the door and let God do the rest.
Lydia, thank you. The thing is, it's something we can all do, right? I haven't read the book, Turquoise Table, but it is this kind of nationwide movement. Let me just close with this idea of hospitality. So Michelle has a sign-up sheet outside, right? To a time when we can practice hospitality towards those people even right here. I think we, as we learn to be followers of Christ, as we continue to learn, as we continue to grow in our, I hate to even use all the churchy words, but as we grow in our faith, as we grow and we learn to live, to be the best version of ourselves. When there's a list like that, right? To do something like this, the Bible's so clear about it. It's like I feel like there should be like a line. Everybody filled out already? Oh, you already got your name. Hey, what about? Do you have January's yet? Like I really think, I think, if we, and I include myself too, if we really like got into this and we really said, I really believe this. I believe it's really the way I'm supposed to live in this world and behave in this world. I believe that's what God wants. I believe that's what Jesus wants. I believe He wants me to follow Him in these ways. We should be looking for opportunity to do it all the time. Let me tell you something else. We haven't had anybody in Sherry's position since she got her worst one. We need somebody. We need somebody who will say, I want to do that. I want to take over that area of hospitality. I mean, it's in the Bible. It's a command. It says, do that. Right? And I don't want you to do it out of any kind of obligation or anything. I want you to feel in your heart and go, I can't wait to sign up. Let me do that. Let me participate in that. And so now in your notes, those names back there, just think about it. I know it's not easy. I know, she put a table outside. She goes, I know what was going to happen. I don't know. I know what my expectations were. And then, wow, it was just amazing. Amazing. Give God opportunity, right? And that's all meal groups are. We're just kind of giving God opportunity. Can have people come over, and we don't let you pick them out, right? We don't let you pick out, because you'll pick out the ones that you sit next to and or whatever. We put different people in there, and you go, oh, I don't, and you get to know them. All right, sorry I kept you so long. This is good stuff, don't you think? I really do. I really think it's good stuff. Like I read the Bible and I go, wow, this is helping me be just better, right? A better man, a better husband, a better friend, a better neighbor, just better. And I want to be better because I want to, you know why? Because I want to live a rich life. I don't know how many years I got left, but I want them to be rich. I want yours to be rich as well. Let's stand. Lord, we thank you. There's just so much wisdom just peppered all through this book we call the Bible. If we just learn to discern and to see the wisdom in it, our lives would drastically change. I ask God, you help open our mind, open our hearts now. We have opened our minds to receive. Now open our hearts to let it just soak in, that we can now go out and say, this is the way I want to live. This is the way I want to be in this world. This is what it means to be fully human. Because I want to live a rich life, God. We thank you in Jesus' name. Amen. Amen. Thanks, friends. Have a great day.